Richard Sherman just had one of his best seasons in the NFL. But he suffered 2 humiliations in the final 2 playoff games. In the NFC Championship, Sherman gave up a 65-yard catch to Packers wide receiver Davante Adams. And in the Super Bowl, with the season on the line, Sherman gave up a 38-yard catch to Chiefs wide receiver Sammy Watkins, who ran the same route Adams ran in the previous game. These were the first 2 times someone had burned Sherman deep all season. What happened? What did he do so well all season to earn his first Pro Bowl selection since 2016? And what did opponents see on film from Sherman, which they eventually exploited? Let's examine.
Part of the reason Sherman played better last season is he was 2 years removed from his Achilles surgery, and he was more athletic and fluid. But a bigger reason he played better last season was the 49ers pass rush was improved, and he could sit back in zone coverage and anticipate lots of quick throws. No one anticipates throws better than Richard Sherman because he's so experienced, he's so smart, and he played wide receiver in college. This was week 1 against the Bucs. He's at the bottom of your screen playing left cornerback, playing zone, eyes on the quarterback. And right about now, he has an idea of where the ball's going. Look, you look at Sherman, he starts to break down way before this running back does. Sherman's got the eyes on the quarterback. Sherman's starting to slow down now. The running back has no idea that the ball's even coming to him. And this is what you see a lot. When Sherman intercepts the ball, he breaks on it before the receiver does. He runs the route for the receiver. It's like he knows the play. He was in the offensive huddle just because he's seen a million plays and used to be in offensive huddles himself. Here's Sherman at the bottom of your screen against the Steelers week 3. Zone coverage. He's going to turn away from the wide receiver and look at the quarterback right there. What I want you to notice, Sherman is reading the play. He's not just reading the quarterback. He's reading the route combination. And what he sees right away is this tight end come out to the flat. What that means is this wide receiver almost certainly is going to run a slant. It's one of the oldest route combinations in football, the slant flat. He sees the flat, he anticipates the slant, and now watch Sherman run the route for the wide receiver. He's running the slant right now. The receiver hasn't decided to start. Quarterback's going to throw it anyway, and real lucky he's not intercepted here. That's a former wide receiver who's seen every single play there is. Week 5 against the Browns. Here's Sherman at the top of your screen. It's quarters coverage, zone. That means 4 deep, 3 underneath. All you got to know, simple. 4 deep. Sherman right here realizes that the Browns have called a cover 4 beater, meaning they're just running this wide receiver into this zone to occupy the free safety so they can get this wide receiver one-on-one against Richard Sherman, who's got outside leverage. It's a tough race to the middle of the field, but Sherman reads it. He sees it happening, and he doesn't let the wide receiver beat him to the inside. He jumps the post route, again, running the route for the wide receiver. Now he's in perfect position, and he intercepts the pass. He also has beautiful, beautiful hands. Again, former wide receiver. But he should have been beat on that play. They called the right play. He just saw it coming and undercut it. At home against the Panthers, here's Richard Sherman at the bottom of your screen. Slow motion, similar to the first one I showed you. Zone, eyes on the quarterback. Already seems to have a pretty good idea of where this play is going. This guy's blissfully unaware. Sherman stopping, doesn't respect the deep route at all, has stopped his feet, knows this wide receiver is going to break. And then he's in the right spot at the right time. The wide receiver didn't know what route to run. He was supposed to run a curl route. Seems like Sherman knew that. Like Sherman was listening to the play and said, no, dude, you're supposed to run a curl. I'm going to run the curl for you. You're welcome to run that dig. Must be real frustrating for the other team. Here's Sherman's big interception in the NFC Championship game going against Davante Adams, who's one of the best wide receivers in the league. But this is zone coverage, and Sherman's the best zone corner of all time. Still the best in the league. Right at this point, Aaron Rodgers hasn't tipped off where he's throwing. Davante Adams could break off his route and run a comeback and gain 25, 30 yards easy. Sherman knows it's not going to happen. He's sold out, running deep like Rodgers is throwing to him. He knows the ball is going deep. He sees these two routes over here, both guys breaking in at about 20 yards, and knows that this route combination calls for this wide receiver to run deep. So Sherman runs deep before Aaron Rodgers even even decides to throw the pass. So what does Rodgers end up doing? He ends up throwing the pass to Sherman. Beautiful interception, but he really intercepted it with his mind. You can tell Sherman used to play wide receiver when you watch him in zone coverage because he often knows what the offense is going to do before it does it. But you can't tell that Sherman used to play wide receiver when you watch him hit. He hits more like a strong safety than a cornerback who used to play offense. Here he is against the Steelers, top of your screen. It's 3rd and 7. Can't let this wide receiver get to the first down marker. Defeats that first block there. Lowers his shoulder. Brings up 4th down. Beautiful hit. This was one of Sherman's best plays of the season, and he might not even remember it. You probably don't remember it. It was in LA, near the goal line. You don't even see him right now. Here he is. This side of your screen. I'm going to pause it right there. That's a touchdown. That should be a touchdown. It's just one-on-one, Richard Sherman against a big, powerful running back. Sherman tackles him at the 1-yard line. Saved a touchdown. That's a 6-point saving tackle. Beautiful. It really all started in the first quarter of the first game in Tampa Bay. Bruce Arians wanted to test Sherman right away. Test him deep. It's a 32-year-old corner with a surgically repaired Achilles. Here he is at the bottom of your screen covering Mike Evans man-to-man. Evans is an elite wide receiver. But Evans is going to take an outside release and run up the sideline. Sherman cuts him off right there. He's dead. He's done. No room to get open. No separation. Sherman bats his pass down easily. They review it and call him for a ticky-tack defensive pass interference, but there's no way you're going to beat Sherman this way at any point in his career. But let's go back and see what Sherman did. He cuts off Mike Evans right away. Turns sideways. If Evans had gone to the inside, he could have gotten open. But he goes to the outside where Sherman wants him to go, cuts him off. Right there, he's running for him. Maybe there'd be something there to the inside. Let's see what happens later in the season. Week 5 against the Browns, man-to-man against Jarvis Landry at the top of your screen. Landry's another elite receiver. You may not remember these plays because the Niners won this game big, but it all led to the end of the season. The Browns saw what Sherman did to defend that deep pass against Evans, how he turned his hips right away and walled off the outside release. Let's see what Jarvis Landry does here. Takes 2 jab steps to the outside and comes back to the inside. Sherman turns around and he's beat right now. Let's pause it. Jarvis Landry could run deep and he'd have him. He could stop his route and come back and he'd have him. Sherman is at his mercy. And this is a merciful route. He could have gone deep and had a touchdown. He stops, runs over the middle, and instead gains about 25 yards. Teams saw this, and teams would try to come back to it later in the season. Teams eventually figured out if you give Richard Sherman a hard jab step to the outside at the line of scrimmage, he's extremely vulnerable to the inside. Why? Because he has a surgically repaired Achilles. And the deal with surgically repaired Achilles is that you may regain most of your speed, but what you lose are your brakes, the ability to change direction. It becomes extremely tough because in the back of your mind, you think you're going to tear it again if you slam on the brakes. Here he is against the Browns. You may not remember this play. It was incomplete because it was a bad pass, but Sherman cannot change directions. Instead of slamming on the brakes and doubling back, he spins in a circle to maintain momentum. Watch it again. He can't cut like that. So he stops and does this roundabout and gives up about 7 yards of separation. Really tough to stop and change directions with a surgically repaired Achilles, and people saw it. All right, here's the 65-yard catch Sherman gave up to Davante Adams in the NFC Championship game. Sherman's at the bottom of your screen, man-to-man coverage. Remember what I said, hard jab step to the outside, then an inside release. Sherman can't change directions. He's committed to taking away the outside. Spins in a circle to try to come back and recover and take away a slant, but Adams isn't running a slant. He's going deep. Remember that clip I showed you of Jarvis Landry taking the same release week 5 and Richard Sherman at his mercy? Well, same thing. Adams can do whatever he wants here. He can break off the route and go to the inside, or he can run deep. He's not feeling merciful, so he runs deep. Of course, this is the play. He didn't freelance. I know that. But Sherman, here he is. He has no makeup speed. He's 32 years old. He looks a little bit like he's running in sand. and he gives up the longest catch of the season for him at the worst possible time. Fortunately for the 49ers, they were up and they won this game. When you saw that 65-yard catch from Adams live, you might have thought it was innocuous because the 49ers won the game, so who cares? Well, the Chiefs cared. It gave them ideas, and they used it more than once in the Super Bowl. This is the third quarter. They're setting up the long throw to Sammy Watkins against Richard Sherman in man-to-man coverage, but they don't want to do it just yet. They want to make sure it's going to work. So they do hard jab step to the outside, come back to the inside. Sherman overcommits, gives up. Now he's at Watkins' mercy. Watkins doesn't run deep, though. He stops his route, like Jarvis Landry a few clips before. Sherman recovers. But Mahomes scrambles. Sherman really can't react like this. Like I said, he can't stop, can't change directions. He's floating off this way. Watkins cuts back, makes an easy catch. There's 10 yards of separation there. And this would foreshadow the end of the season for Sherman and the 49ers.